So the first component cost of debt, RD, is the marginal cost of debt capital, measured by yield to maturity, YTM, on long-term debt. Okay, so we already learned how to calculate this before in the bond chapter. Now we're just reviewing or using the skills we learned to this example. Okay, so as provided by this example, we know that this firm, Goldman Technologies, has long-term bond, which is 15-year, 12% coupon, semi-annual coupon payment, non-callable bond, selling for 1153.72. No flotation cost, par is 1,000. So now we want to solve for RD. Okay, so please note that this is a semi-annual bond. So we will need to solve for number of half years and also semi-annual coupon payment first. Also, this 12% is the nominal annual coupon rate. Okay, if the question doesn't specify, then any coupon rate here is nominal annual coupon rate given by the question. Okay, so if we use our financial calculator, we can input our N as number of half years, which is 15 years multiplied by 2. We have 30 half years. Input as N. For PV, we input our bond price that we're paying, so we put negative 1153.72. Okay, this is our cash outflow, something we're paying, so we have a negative sign here. For payment, we can input the semi-annual payment, which is the annual coupon rate, which is 12%, multiplied by 1,000 par value. So we know annually the coupon payments are 120. And we divide that by 2. We have semi-annual coupon payment, which is 60. Input as payment. Future value should be par value that we're receiving, 1,000. So both coupon payment and par value are cash inflows for us. We keep them as positive signs. Then we compute for I. We get 5% as our semi-annual yield to maturity. We have to multiply this by 2 so that the annual yield to maturity should be 10%. And then this is before tax nominal annual yield to maturity. We need you to use this 10% multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. Tax rate is given by the question as 40%. We have after-tax cost of debt. After-tax RD is 6%. Okay, so any rates given by the question or asking from the question are nominal rates. Okay, the question asks for cost of debt. It's essentially asking for after-tax cost of debt that we're going to use to calculate WACC. Flotation costs are ignored here. So besides the cost of debt, the second component cost is cost of preferred stock. We use RP to stand for it. P stands for preferred stock. This is the marginal cost of preferred stock. It is measured by the return investors require on a firm's preferred stock. Because preferred dividends are not tax deductible, so no tax adjustments are necessary here, just to use nominal RP. And we're also ignoring flotation cost here. We can use perpetuity formula to solve for a cost of preferred stock. We know that for perpetuity, if we have a regular payments that last forever, we can use payments divided by R, the return or the cost of capital, to get the present value of perpetuity. So here, because the dividends for preferred stock are also fixed dividends, they are a fixed amount, and it also lasts forever, it's perpetual. So the present value of preferred stock, which is the price of preferred stock, we can use PP to stand for it, and it should be equal to the dividend for preferred stock, DP, divided by the cost or the return of preferred stock, RP. Okay, it's the same thing here. Again, for the firm, it's the cost. For the investor, it's the return. And for dividend DP here, we can use the information again given by the example that the preferred stock is 10% $100 par value quarterly dividend perpetual preferred stock selling for 111.1. Okay, so this 10% is the dividend rate. We can use 10% multiplied by 100 to get the quarterly dividend, which should be 10 as the dividend, as the DP. And then for price, PP, it's 111.1. So we can use the dividend DP 10 divided by 111.1 to get the RP, cost of preferred stock, as 9%. Okay, because price is dividend over R. So R is dividend over price. Question: is preferred stock more risky or less risky to investors than debt? It is actually more risky. Okay, the risk level of these three assets here, from low to high, we can order that debt has lowest risk, preferred stock have risk level that's in between, and common equity has the highest risk. Okay, firms usually have to pay debt first. Okay, otherwise the firm can go bankruptcy. But for preferred stock and common equity, the firm does not have to pay for them. The firm does not have to go bankruptcy if it cannot pay for the fixed dividends for preferred stock, or if it cannot pay for dividends for common equity. Okay, and for debt, the firm has to pay coupon payments, otherwise it could go bankruptcy. Okay, so usually the firm starts with paying for debt, and then after paying off debt, it could pay for dividends for preferred stock, and then it could pay for common equity. So the risk level of these three assets from low to high is debt, preferred stock, and common equity. Company is not required to pay preferred dividend. However, firms try to pay preferred dividend, otherwise they cannot pay common equity or common dividend. It's difficult to raise additional funds, and preferred stockholders may gain control of the firm. Another question: why is the yield on preferred stock lower than debt? Okay, so if we look at before tax yield, cost of preferred stock is 9%. For cost of debt is 10%. So preferred stock will often have a lower before tax yield than the before tax yield on debt. However, if we look at after tax yield to an investor or after tax cost to the issuer, they are higher on preferred stock than on debt. This is consistent with higher risk of preferred stock. Okay, remember we're just saying that preferred stock has a higher risk compared to debt, so it should have higher return or cost. Okay, according to the risk-to-return principle, we learned that higher risk, higher return, so that the riskier preferred stock should have a higher return compared to debt. So if we look at after-tax return, the preferred stock has a 9% after-tax return, and the after-tax cost of debt is 6%. Okay, then this is consistent with our risk order. Okay, the third component cost, besides the cost of debt and cost of preferred equity, is cost of common equity. Okay, and there are two categories of cost of common equity. One is RS. It is the marginal cost of common equity using retained earnings. Another is RE, which is rate of return investors require on the firm's common equity using new equity. Okay, so the first one is retained earnings from old equity. We have RS to stand for the cost of common equity using retained earnings. And the second one is cost of new common equity, RE. And we're going to learn how to calculate any of these. Okay, for RE, we just need to take flotation cost into consideration. Why is there a cost for retained earnings? Because earnings can be reinvested or paid out as dividend. Investors could buy other securities, earn a return. If earnings are returned, there is an opportunity cost, the return that stockholders could earn on alternative investments of equal risk. Investors could buy similar stocks and earn RS, or a firm could repurchase its own stock and earn RS. Okay, so this cost of common equity using retained earnings is an opportunity cost. This is the cost of the cost that the money could be used, the retained earnings could be used other ways and making equivalent returns. Okay, there are three ways actually to calculate cost of common equity for retained earnings, RS. The first way is to use capital asset pricing model, which is RS equals risk-free rate plus market risk premium, which is RM minus RIF multiplied by beta. Okay, this is what we'll learn. The second way is using discounted cash flow model. RS would be D1 over P0 plus G. Okay, these two methods are what we already learned. Today we're gonna add a new third method, which is own bond yield plus risk premium method. We can use the cost of debt or bond yield for the same firm plus the risk premium to get RS, stock return. Okay, so this RS stock return equals RD, bond return plus a risk premium. So this premium is just the gap between stock return and bond return for a firm. It's different from the market risk premium or stock risk premium we've learned for capital asset pricing model. Okay, so you have all these three formulas here, and you could also use all the information provided by the example that we have a common equity that sells for $50. D0 is 4.19, G is 5%. So you can probably use these information and to apply to the constant growth model, right? RS equals D1 over P0 plus G. You could also use this other information here. Beta is 1.2, risk-free rate is 7%, market risk premium is 6%, and apply it to our capital asset pricing model. We also know that bond yield risk premium is 4%. Okay, this is the stock over bond yield risk premium. You can use this information and our third method to calculate RS. Okay, so I will end this video. Please try to use these information given by the question and using these three models here to calculate RS. Once you figure out the answer, you can go to the next video to see the solutions.